So, Tushara ji, for the first question I have for you is about the specific interventions you have taken for soil and water, and that too for the how do you ensure their sustainability in the agri-water system? If you can throw light on that, and I request you to be data-centered if possible, and coming with certain kind of measurable impact so that people understands with the data and specifics about it.
Thank you, Suman, and thank you to CSRBOX for inviting me yet again on a different subject. And Lupin Foundation has been operational since 1988, and we work across 8 states, 23 districts, and more than 5,000 villages. Just to put this in context, this particular program that we spoke about, the agriculture-based livelihood empowerment, is focused in 2 states only, Maharashtra and Rajasthan. And we have been working with 20,000 farmers under this program specifically. The key components of the program are focused on water conservation, water use efficiency, soil health. Of course, there are market linkages and crop productivity focuses as well. But these two are especially significant for the panel over here. And since we spoke about data, more than 90% water is utilized in agriculture, as we all know. So if we become more efficient in using water in agriculture, I think half our problem would be solved. And with that spirit, we have been intervening over a very long period of time on water conservation, but more specifically under this project, constructing water conservation structures and also improving water use efficiency effort. So we have, to be very specific to this program, we have constructed 32 water conservation structures so far in the last 1.5 years, and that has resulted into conservation of 4.5 lakh cubic meters of water. And this is directly helping 700 farmers in being able to take multiple crops that directly enhances their income. We have also promoted drip irrigation and sprinkler micro irrigation systems for 1,800 farmers, directly funding and supporting them with a small contribution from the farmers, and at the same time also engaging with say government for getting those schemes for micro and irrigation systems to reach to larger number of farmers, because Lupin can only do so much, and there is efforts that people like sir in every state are doing, and we need to engage with them. We are very conscious of that. Our teams constantly work with various levels of the government system. And also we have created this farmer producer organization right in the beginning of the program, because we have the strong belief of being able to lead sustainable interventions. And here these FPOs, we are promoting drip irrigation systems or micro irrigation systems to be sold at the best possible rates, so that they are not exploited, they don't need to travel too far. That's the piece being covered in water. On soil, we all know that soil health is a massive problem in a country like ours. I think across the world it's a problem, but for us it's very significant. The organic carbon levels are 0.5% in Indian soil, while the ideal is 1.5 to 2%. That directly impacts fertility. And so, and that there are macronutrient deficiencies of over 50%, the micronutrient deficiencies more than 30%. So, overall, our soil is not in a very good state. It's in poor health. But that doesn't mean that across the country, all the soil has the same kind of deficiencies. But what actually happens is farmers have to depend on the retailers as to whatever they are giving them for in the name of nutrients. That costs them a lot of money. And also you don't, when you take a nutrient for your own body, you always do a diagnostic test before that. So it's very important that the soil is tested, and that soil, maybe it would be applicable for 20-25 acres around it, but not more. Every soil is different in its nature, and for the farmer to understand what exactly is going on with the soil in his field is extremely important, and that's what we focus on. We have tested 4,000 soil samples out of these 20,000 farmers already. We hope to do for each one of them and promote that as a practice through our training of farmers that we do through something called Lupin Farmer Schools. We have over 700 Lupin Farmer Schools through which we train the farmers on a variety of these issues on package of practices, etc., including soil health practices. We have, 1,500 farmers have started using decomposers in FIM and composting to enhance soil health, which is for long-term, ensuring long-term fertility of the soil. And finally, we have delivered 555 on-field demonstrations for the farmers to learn on better practices in general, including water use efficiency and soil health. I would stop there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think one thing is very clear that you are focused on a very specific interventions, which is about soil health and the water conservation. And when it comes to soil health, soil diagnostics is the first step towards improving the soil health, isn't it? So that's where micro and macronutrient and the soil organic carbon, those initiatives have to be very scientifically driven, and it has to be very local context based. So different types of soil will need different ways of interventions. So I believe that you have taken a very tailor-made approach of local soils based rejuvenation or soil health improvement. Thank you so much. So now I'll go to Dr. Binita. So Dr. Binita, I think we have already discussed in person about your interventions on how watershed and water conservation projects specifically address the soil health and water sustainability in the specific intervention villages, and also what has been your observed impact on the agriculture productivity and ecosystem restoration in these communities. So if you can just specific with numbers as well as data points and the impact metrics.
So good morning everyone, and thank you Suman for the question, and thank you for the CSRBOX for inviting us on a very different topic. And I think Zydus, everybody knows, Zydus is a global life sciences company, and it discovers, develops, manufactures and markets the health therapies. So we have a major program of healthcare, but now we are focused more on the water. See, into the training for 10 years, decades, what's the water condition would be there. So we have a biggest, one of the Zydus watershed and water conservation program. And why we selected this program was basically for the Gujarat and Maharashtra, because these are the zones where semi-arid regions are there, high salinity is there, and the conditions of farmers had made it such a thing they have started migrating. From Ahmedabad, you can consider the people have started migrating because of salinity, and we really wanted that workers to come back, have their own things in it. So we selected around 20 villages in the Viramgam in Ahmedabad, and in Maharashtra, a Shirpur block completely, where we are doing the watershed programs on larger level. The salinity is such a high, you can imagine, you can see the salt line over here, and that thing is a dry desert, we can say it's completely desert right now. And we selected areas specifically that which can be revived again. And you'll be happy to know that 325 water harvesting structures we have planned it out, and almost 200 are ready with us now. And in Shirpur, we are going with a larger level of concrete bandaras, recharge bandaras. And total, if I get it, will be more than 250 crores of liters of water. It's a huge water coming back to again reviving them. And this salinity was surface salinity. The people have started digging the water from the ground level, and that is the saline water again. And that has spoiled completely the soil of the Viramgam area. So we are working on a lot of innovatives where soil health can be improved. And the new shots will be coming up now, and we'll be publishing it out, how the soil health can be improved much with a lot of innovations into it. So, and we are targeting it more than 5,550 hectares of land, and around 7,000 of farmers directly benefiting to it. I don't want to see the bigger number, but 5,550 farmers will be directly benefited. And when we did the study, and we're happy to know all the soil health and every parameters are there. But the migration has stopped now. The people going are coming back, and they're reviving the soil when they saw the water is coming back to us. They are not going for the daily works, they're starting working on the lands. And that was our aim, that people should start working their own land, what they have it. And the migration and the youth who were going to Surat and everywhere, they have stopped back. They started learning, and we're giving large number of trainings to them to revive their soil health and training for which type of crop can be grown. So when you go past to the Viramgam, we're happy to see the flora and fauna native has started coming up. The water is coming up, and last month only we did a study, and we came out to know the level of, from 800 kgs per hectare, now it has decreased to 1200 kgs of hectares. So that's a good thing for small sign, but a good improvement in part of it. And Irrigation now, women have come up very well with SSGs into it, and they are going for the diversified livelihoods also. It's just not having only farming. They have started dairy now. They started with the livelihoods things into it and getting a lot of variations into it. So I feel Zydus will able to put a lot of things and having 250 crores of liters water coming up will make a difference in Shirpur belt and in Gujarat belt. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Binita. I think one thing is very clear that if you are able to focus on right and local specific impact interventions, so the impact is visible and the impact would be definitely measurable. And as part of CSR, the biggest challenge would be about measuring the CSR impact in a technically right way, rather than just only, not from a lens of only social aspects but also environmental aspects. And that is where I think you are able to do the good job, and thank you so much for being technically right around that. And my next question to you would be, Prabhakant ji, the water economic zones which you have been engaged with, right? And the model which has you have shown and which has been recognized by multiple agencies in the form of awards and recognitions. So we would like to know what are the measurable improvements in groundwater as well as livelihoods. That's one. And then how can this model can be scaled, right, and replicated through multi-stakeholder partnerships? If you can just throw that light on that, that would be really helpful. And that too, the best part is that they have focused on a water-stressed regions. So wherever the vulnerable pockets have been there, they have focused on that. And there has been a significant kind of improvement which has been reported. So we would like to know more about that.
Thank you very much, Suman. At DS Group, actually, we are focusing on three core thematic areas. Water and livelihood, one of the important thing. Other two are gender equity and the community development. And coming to the water and livelihood, and considering the lens of the climate change, so I believe that actually climate change, generally call it as an energy crisis, but I believe that's a water crisis that we all are facing. The kind of water cycle is changing, we all are impacting. So when actually we would like to actually decide what would be the CSR strategy for DS Group, so we believe that farmers are very important stakeholder for us, and their livelihood is very critical, and for their livelihood, water is the essential thing. So that's why we blend this project, we call it as a water economic zone. How can we basically weave the livelihood aspect of farmers through water conservation and efficient use of the water management? And we have core four pillar of this project. The first one is of course water management. Second is agriculture improvement. Third is the climate action, and fourth one is the market linkages. Why I'm actually putting the concept of these four, because if market is not there, then other three will not be sustainable. So we have to make the balance between all four the items. So this is the concept of water economic zone. And when we implemented this project in Udaipur, we found that actually there's a significant change in their livelihood, that their agriculture productivity is enhanced between 20% to 50%, it's depending upon area to area, because this project we implemented in 8 different locations in the country, 4 locations in Rajasthan and 4 locations in MP. So that impact numbers are vary from one location to other location. For example, in Shivni, we found that there are only 20% improvement in the paddy production. But in Karoli in Rajasthan, we found that actually there is around 60 to 70% production improvement in the paddy. So it depends upon the what kind of the baseline and the practices that they are following. So I believe that rather than the impact number, the concept is very important. If we set the ground rules for the particular project, it can be scalable or applicable in different location as per the local condition. So this concept, we found that particularly is very much suitable in semi-arid areas, and we found that it is very, very well implemented in Udaipur, Karoli, and subsequently in Rajasthan. And altogether, if we talk about the specifically numbers, so more than 1200 structures that we have constructed through water economics and more than 1 crore cubic liter water or storage capacity that we have created. And day before yesterday, actually, GREHA has awarded TS Group as a water positive group because of this kind of work that we did in the field. So that is from the myself.
So thank you so much. So just to add further what Prabhakant ji said, that when it comes to water, it has to be at least at a three-tier approach is what typically most of the industries is able to see it. One is that watershed, access to water, and second thing is about farm level kind of an intervention, where drip irrigation to sprinkler to rain hose to that individual level farmer. And then third is about this entire crop based water management. So these are the three levels where interventions can be specific and more impactful and also measurable. So thanks for taking it up. And also important thing you have highlighted is that the impact, the delta change need not to be universally same. And that's a major myth where typically when it comes to a simplification of a measurement, we'll try to say that, okay, 10% impact, 20% change, 40% change. It doesn't work that way when it comes to soil and water. So it has to be very, very local specific. It has to be technically right model. And also we have to look for not a quick solution, but a long-term solutions. So thank you so much for that. Now my question to Navdeep Singh ji. DIAGEO's regenerative agriculture program is bringing a large-scale behavioral change among the farmers on water usage and soil health. So how do you see this entire private sector partnerships accelerating such kind of a climate-smart agriculture and models around that across different agri-ecological zones? Because I know DIAGEO is also following a very specific approach of certain interventions at a farm level as well as a crop level. So if you can throw light on that, that would be helpful.
Thank you. I'll take a little different approach to address your question. I think first thing that the corporate sector need to learn is, if we are getting into a soil and a water and agriculture and farmer game, we need to learn the game of patience. So that's the first attribute we need to internalize, that it is a game of patience. It is a game of crop cycle. It is a game of nature. It is a game of monsoon, and the way how much water we save in Punjab. The whole Punjab is flooded now. How much water we save, and the Kosi's gates are open now. So it is a very, very organic, very, very a game of patience. That's the first learning which we got when we started working in this particular space with farmers in Punjab, Haryana and Telangana. The second big problem or the challenge is the mindset. So farmers, the community of farmers probably are the most closely knit community, and they are in a lock-in situation. They are all locked in the way they work, in the way they get up every morning, the way they talk to each other, the way they engage, the way they partner, the way they select their service providers, the way they select technology, the tractors, the equipments, the marketplace, the way they look at their all agricultural practices. They are all locked in as a community, very closely knit community. So that's a second thing, which is a mindset which we need to look into. I mean, there can be multiple interventions, a lot of jargons for that, but I think it's 80%, more than 80% of our water usage in this country. So if that is true, then I think we all know that there are three drivers. Then the third element is the driver part of it. What drives a change? And when you said behavior change is a big task, right? Even, Zydus knows for vaccination itself, we had to have a huge campaign or let children go for vaccination and even mothers go for vaccination. So it's a game of patience, one. It is a locked-in scenario. How do you lock it out? And third is the behavior change, which is through drivers. Now, drivers generally we all know is one is self-driven, I want to do it, which is internal. What are the two external drivers? External drivers can be my marketplace, it can be my buyer. External driver can be regulation, right? Now, water, there is no regulation. And in certain places, we all know it's for free. So we don't even know how much water we used. I don't know how many in this room have ever seen a farmer water pump has a meter. I don't know how many of you have actually seen that there is a farmer who's got a water pump and it has a meter, and he's calculating that how much water I'm pumping out for this crop and how much I'm pumping out for my next crop, and how do I regulate that how much water should be there. I mean, they don't even know the cubic meter of the water pumped. They only know switch on. Oh my God, I forgot to switch off. Go back and switch off. And sometimes it is not even the farmers who's switching on and off. It is the electricity board which is saying, okay, from 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock, we will switch on. So you can switch on your motors and the water pump can keep pumping the crops. So when I see, while we are seeing it's game of patience, while we know it's a locked in scenario, while we are saying they're drivers, but I think it's all behavior change requires very, very constant push on all three aspects of it. I asked Naveen ji, so why Food Corporation of India is not asking the farmers that the produce you're giving to me, is it produced sustainably? Very simple question. Why a buyer? The biggest buyer in this country, it's not there. I mean, there are reasons, there are discussions we can have. So our experience is that you really need to create role models in this community. Only the role models can convert the whole locked-in community, and the role model drivers is something that we are working on. So demo farms, seeing is believing, staying on course, soil health, all what the co-panelists are discussing is very important. But I think we need to go there with a real mindset that it is a long game. It is a behavior change which might happen even, I mean, we've tried in Punjab, the next generation adopting first. The young farmers, they are actually adopting first. It's very difficult to convert the old age farmers. But meeting the young farmers who understands, who knows how to use technology, who can check the reels of the farmers, how they are producing cash crops and not in a locked-in system of rice, wheat, rice, wheat, rice, wheat. How do you introduce different crop cycles? How do you change that behavior? How do you change that whole marketplace scenario? I think these are a few learnings we have. We are on course. There are numbers we are saving, etc. But I think the biggest challenge is which driver will work with which geography, with which crop, with which set of farmers.
I think you have highlighted a very important point. So when it comes to farmers, or when it comes to any farming system, which is basically a rice wheat system or a rice maize, which is predominantly 65% of the crop area any point of time in the country, right? And if we have to really do a water saving per se from the agriculture, then we have to really drive very focused interventions which can give them a co-benefit apart from just only water saving, but also certain kind of a market benefit or economic benefit. I think a combination of this would be helpful, is what I learned from you. Of course, you didn't touch exclusively on the economic benefit, but somewhere we are heading towards that. So having said that, there are very specific interventions in the rice wheat and rice maize system. Thanks to the research community, they have already come up with the measurable impacts as well as measurable outcomes. So it's all about how CSR as well as direct impact programs like us, as well as the farming community being oriented. And for a farmer, it's all about seeing, believing. So optics is where it plays an important role. So demonstration wise, we have to be very, very focused and create that kind of a specific optics so that they get convinced. And as soon as farmers get convinced, they'll just drive that on their own because they know how to drive it. So somewhere the combination of right technology with the local focus and focusing on the farming system, and then connecting back to optics, how do we drive the behavioral change, is where we all have to focus. Thanks for highlighting that. Now, I would come to Ms. Connie, very specific, because we have a very interesting conversation last evening. So, how did you help? How did you actually, it's a manufacturing facility which has been seen as a kind of a polluting in the environment nearby, and there would be a certain resistance from the local communities and direct impact zone villages. How agri-water intervention has helped you to win the community trust and give you entrance there in terms of increasing or scaling your impact with multiple other interventions? If you can share with the audience about those specifics of it, that would be helpful.
Sure, Suman. Thank you so much. And thank you, CSRBOX, for this opportunity. Good morning, everyone. It's very heartening to see a hall full of, interesting delegates here. So my answer is going to be very personal. We have panelists here who have been working in the area of soil and water for many years and been doing exceptional work. So my story or my journey is what I would like to kind of highlight in these few minutes. So Evonith Steel has been a taken over company. We took over a previous steel company in 2020. The company has been, the factories has been in Verdia for the last 30 years. And for the last 30 years, there has been absolutely no work in the communities around. So when we came to Evonith, and I happened to have a discussion with my chairman, he's like, I want to start business with CSR. Very few organizations today have that kind of vision from the management level, where CSR is like their prime focus, their philosophy for starting business. And I was fortunate to kind of be associated with a chairman and continue to be associated with such a chairman. He's saying, I want to start my business with CSR. It's a clean slate. Absolutely no idea what's happening in those communities. What do we do? How do we go across? So we conducted a needs assessment, and obviously Verdia, completely farmer belt. And me, coming from an education background, absolutely no experience in soil and water. So I was like, wow, what do we do? When we would go in the communities, we would not introduce ourselves as we have come from the company. We would say we have come from an NGO, we have come from an agency. We've just come here to do a survey. Farmers were like, we know everything. हम सब जानते हैं. आप हमको क्या सिखाएंगे? We have been doing farming for so many decades. आप क्या cropping हमको सिखाएंगे? So our biggest challenge was, how do you break that? How do you kind of win that trust? And within 6 months, we were able to kind of bring in a kind of a conversion when it came to farming. And our work has been primarily with women. So we can proudly say in the entire Vidarbha region of Maharashtra, our program is completely women-centric program, where we are working mainly with women farmers. And why women farmers is because if you go to any of the villages today, you see the women in the villages. It's the male, their husband's name on the land, but it's the women putting in the effort. And who gets the limelight? It's the husband. So we were like, let's get these women out in the forefront. We created VDC groups, we created CRPs, we created change makers from their own villages. And we were like, you be our mobilizers, you be our hands and feet. In 18-20 months, we just conducted an outcome assessment, not an impact assessment, but just an outcome assessment. And we found 35% increase in their average earnings and about 60% of adoption practices. So that itself kind of got their trust. Yes, I mean, this company has an intent. And through this program, we were able to kind of create the other CSR programs. So this became like a base for our CSR platform. And today, now we have also kind of got into reproductive health and also rural sports, promotion of rural sports. But when we go into the villages, it is the farmers. When we go into the villages, it is a woman in the morning who's basically brooming out the dust. And in the afternoon and evening, she's in the field. So she's associated with the soil from morning to night, right? So for us and for me especially, it has been a very enriching, experience. And I feel at the end of the day, any kind of a CSR program, yes, resources are important, but along with resources, also the relationship that connect. So that's all I can say. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Connie, for highlighting how it's important to understand the pain of the community as well as the stakeholders and then start working around that. And then winning their trust will help how it can scale the impact. So thank you so much for sharing that. Now, the panel is actually going towards more of a system-related view. Individual panel members have explained about their CSR and their intervention-centered CSR. Now, Naveen Kumarji will be highlighting about how, as a government, as a policy maker, how a system-led impact in terms of soil and water is what aimed at by government of UP. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sumanji, for this panel. I think it's very important that we talk about water and soil. I think that's something which makes a lot of sense. Reason being, if you want, I think if you look at how the country is growing, I think you was also mentioning 80% of your water is used for agriculture and irrigation, right? So can we save this water? In fact, if you have read some papers, you also have started reading the water in the rivers are reducing. That's important. We are seeing, because there's an, we call it exploitation of water for all the uses, industrial, agriculture, everything. And we, primarily look at, when we see or, look at things, we always think that industry is one particular sector which has been using a lot of water. But if you actually look at the ground reality, it would be agriculture. This is one place a smaller intervention could change many things. That's the game. So you were talking about the game. I believe this game was being played for the last 9,000 years. We have domesticated agriculture. And then when you go and start telling the players that we know the game, so they will laugh at you because either you have never practiced it, you just have a gyan, which you have read, and then you go and tell them this could be done because you are told by some other guy who sits in a lab, this can be done. So that is the game where, so you have to understand it's a very strong psychological game which you play with a person who has been doing it time and again. And this is where I think when you look at it, I remember when I was posted as special secretary in agriculture department way back in 18, one of my seniors told me, my principal secretary told me, if you want to see an impact in agriculture, it's minimum 3 years, the smallest of impact. And if you do not put in that 3 years, if you go and say that health, 2 months you'll get impact. Education, 1 year. Agriculture is one sector where you need long-term. I think it's the area where you need, I talked about patience. I also put another P there, persistence. If you put persistence there, your game is on. I think that's, your game is on. I think whether we win or not is the other question. You become a player in the game, right? So how do you do it? There are many things. In fact, she was also talking about diagnostics, the soil diagnostics. There are 2 different farms next to each other, and one farm can grow certain crops, the other would not grow certain crops, right? Do we have that kind of data? Do we have that kind of research? I think that is where I would believe that the CSR and the corporate should come in that space where can we use technology to tell these people, can we, send alerts to them, to telling them this is what your soil health is looking at. And then can we tell them this is what you can grow. So there is this beautiful series on Amazon. I think if you get time, you should see it. There is this series called Miti Ek Nayi Pehchan. In fact, if you look at scroll through it, the last name would be mine. This was made by my friend. The story is this. This guy was told to, there was a corporate guy who went down and do same thing. We are all corporate guys, right? In fact, I've never grown and I've been in agriculture for almost 3-4 years now. So it's very difficult to convince people to, to start doing something very new. The reason being that we need to, persistently tell them. I think there's a lot of scope for change behavior. If you look at what we talk about, it's easy to do it. So one of the things which we do in PMKSY, Again, when you talk about farmers, it's not just farmers as one round. It is large farmers, your small farmers, marginal farmers, your landless laborers. In fact, there are so many landless laborers who depend on it. So when we talk about PMKSY, we also talk about 3 E's. Your, economy, equity, and environment. It is how we place our things. And then we also create structures. I think we look at water resources. So simply when we do this 5,000 hectares of land, it is not just one village. Remember this one. Working inside a village will be an mind-blowing thing for all of you. When you are working on 5,000 hectares of land, which is a typical watershed area, which is about 27 villages. You are dealing with 27 different kinds of political heads. I think you have Sarpanch as part of the committee. So Navdeep was talking about a very interesting point. Are we doing water accounting or not? How do you bring, I think the point is, when we look at things, we need to, grow these things organically. I think that's something which we have to consistently grow it. Can we, start telling them this is how it happens? There are widespread experience. You go to Vietnam, you look at Maharashtra, we don't have to go very far. There are experiences in Maharashtra where water accounting has happened. Can we replicate these stories? The farmer who has been, who's been used to, switching on, switching out, off, can also be told water accounting can bring some kind of difference in, management. I remember recently somebody showed me a small intervention, as simple as a bag where your seeds can be put in. But the normal bags where your seeds are put in, if you add some moisture, your rates go down. This particular bag is, developed by Purdue University. It has 2 sheets inside, which is made of LDPE and HDPE. And this saves that particular seeds, which the farmer is going to buy after a season, for twice the money which he sold off. So this small intervention can save him a lot of money, right? So that's something which we are looking at. I believe that when you're looking at the larger scale, it is important we have to create platforms. I think there are stories, n number of stories. There is a story happening today and that's not being replicated. Your story stays in the game if you have created players who can change the system. So the point is we should create islands of excellence and the lessons from that should be transformed. I think that's something which we can think of, pushing that lessons across the border. I think we have a village, we have a project area. Can we see it whether our project is, our knowledge or wisdom which we have gained is extended beyond our project area? This would mean that we have successfully done a project. We are not looking at projects alone. We have to change, look at communities changing, owning up, empowered communities at the end of our project. That's something which we look at. And if you are able to do it successfully, I think we leave a very strong culture behind. I think that's something which makes the difference. And I think it's quite possible with all corporates coming and bringing you that new kind of thought process, and the game is on.
So thank you so much for giving a very landscape-related approach of how exactly we should look at it in terms of water, soil, and the intersection of it with livelihood.
30 seconds. I just want to add to just from a closing point, what she also mentioned, that I think let us, all of us, since we are working in this space, not miss the Gen Z farmers, because, all the corporate sector, private companies, FMCG companies are focusing their products and offerings towards Gen Zs. But when we are talking about agriculture, when we're talking about this whole behavior change, who are those Gen Z farmers who will actually become the stories which will spread through the social media, and tomorrow the AI will help us maybe scale that up from an outreach perspective. So Gen Z farmers is also important.
Right. I think thank you so much, Navdeep, highlighting that point. So basically, skilling is one area where, as an important element or a lever, we have to all focus, and that's where probably our next generation, which is getting onto the farm, would be able to go with the right approach. With whatever best we can do around that. That's how. I think now, thank you so much for all the panel members. Only one round of question we could take it because it's only 5 minutes left. So quick questions. 3 questions we can take for this. So Mike. So the person who's asking the question have to tell the question is addressed to whom, and then we will take one by one.
I'm Anil Kumar Verma from Pran, Preservation and Proliferation of Rural Resources and Nature, बिहार. सर वो नवदीप सर बोल रहे थे कि वाटर मेजरमेंट का है ना, तो वाटर मेजरमेंट का हम लोग ने पायलट किया है वहाँ पर और गया में कि वाटर मीटर लगा कर कितना पानी निकल रहा है आपका बोरवेल से और प्रति फार्मर कितना वाटर यूटिलाइज हो रहा है क्यूबिक मीटर में. तो हम लगता है कि देश और इससे क्वांटिफिकेशन काफ़ी आ रहा है फार्मर्स में भी कि हाउ टू यूज वाटर जुडिशियसली, और इसको स्केल अप करने के लिए क्या हम लोग कलेक्टिवली कर सकते हैं. तो ये इसका अभी एक पटना में भी मीटिंग होगी.
सर आपका क्वेश्चन एड्रेस कर दीजिए ना प्लीज. व्हाट इज द क्वेश्चन फॉर यू? व्हाट इज द क्वेश्चन यू वांट टू आस्क नवदीप?
ना क्वेश्चन है कि वाटर बोले कि यहाँ पर कोई ऐसा नहीं ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जिसने वाटर मेजरमेंट पर काम किया है. तो वाटर मेजरमेंट पर पायलटिंग हुआ है बिहार में और 16 तारीख को गवर्नमेंट के साथ मीटिंग भी है कैसे इसको स्केल अप किया जाएगा चीज़ों को. तो हमको लगता है कि इसको पूरे अक्रॉस इंडिया में इसको होना चाहिए.
बिल्कुल मैं सहमत हूँ. मेरा सवाल बड़ा सिंपल था. ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस ने तो जरूर एक्सपेरिमेंट किए हैं. वाटर मीटर बनाने वाली कंपनी के पास भी बहुत सारे मीटर हैं, बट क्या फार्मर की मोटर के ऊपर मीटर है क्या? और उस फार्मर को पता है कि वो उस मोटर की मीटर की रीडिंग देखता है और क्या वो चेक करता है कि राइस में इतना पानी यूज़ हुआ, वीट में इतना पानी यूज़ हुआ, बीच में अगर मैंने कोई दाल उगाई तो इतना पानी मैंने बचाया, और उसकी क्या चर्चा होती है गांव में? आई थिंक वो मिसिंग है.
Okay. And second question, please.
Hello everyone.
Can you be little specific about the question and address to the person? And a quick intro of one line from your side. Yes.
No. So there are some areas where surface water is available, like in Gadchiroli, Ettapalli, or even as sir mentioned, Kaila Devi. There are some areas people are fully dependent on diesel pump. In some parts of Surgana in Bormal or some other parts. So we have installed 700 solar pumps with pipeline and we are maintaining. I'm a Kiran from Gram Uja for profit company. I am facing two challenges. One is that people ask L1, is price mein karoge kya? Because as he clearly mentioned that it's an infrastructure project, it take almost 3 years to get an impact. उनको वो L1 they are comparing us with the price of government. That I am serving in Ettapalli, which is in Gadchiroli. The cost is completely different. So we are facing first challenge is this. Secondly, there is a program called Kusum under government. I'm not sure they are not supporting the groups. They are supporting individual farmer. It should have a registered water source on his Satbara. But there are some areas where people lost their land under the dam, but they are not using that backwater for their own lands because they don't have registered water source as a dam. Thank you.
ठीक है, fine. Anyways, what's the last question? One last question, please. One person. Again, my request is specific and to the point.
Hi, I'm Binita. I'm from Saintries Environmental Trust. My question goes to anyone in the panel who would want to take it up. I just simply want to understand that driving anything in impact is largely driven by data. Now, data for us is incentivized. Maybe my job, maybe it's going somewhere in some report, but like it has come from the panel, for a farmer, how do you incentivize collecting that data? If at all it can be incentivized, I'm a firm believer of hard economics, punishment or incentivization. Maybe that belief system could have affected this question, but I would like to ask this question out to the front. Thank you.
Can I take that question, if you allow me? Okay. So first thing is that with regard to data, the habit of data collection itself at the community level is very, very poor for us. Right? That's first step. So there's a behavioral change which need to happen. That's where the pull is about economic returns, right? And that is where recently there has been certain kind of initiative in terms of carbon credits and water credits and green credits. All of this is happening. So let's see how does it go. But as of now, yes, I agree. Data collection is the most important thing for us, and that's where we have quite a lot of gap. And until unless it is incentivized, it can't be taken up. And there are systems, there are solutions which have recently piloted. We have to see how does it go. Okay.
I do not know whether how many of you know there is something called Agri-Exchange, where every single data of the farm of India is available. I was part of the formation. It's a federated database of this country. There are only two federated databases in this country. One is the health and other is the agriculture. And every season, for example, UP, every season, 90% of what is grown is available on record. The challenge which we see is, I think when you talked about data, the challenge which we see is, we have all these data in silos. So can we make somebody come in, because there is also a proposal, I think the new Data Act is going to give you, can we throw this data out for public in a way that it can be used for research and understanding the markets? I think if you look at it, I remember somewhere in 2013, I made this particular slide to present to before the APC. We have some agriculture productivity commissioner. Forward linkages, backward linkages. This particular database would help us, managing this backward and forward linkages easily. I think this is where it is. And if you can connect the soil data and the water data, we have the best of systems available in the country.
With this, we have come to the closure of the panel. And thank you so much for the panel members to be patient and listening to all the audience first, patiently listening to the panel members, and the panel members being very specific and helping me out to complete this session. Thank you so much.